I do trust the current leadership, for sure. But I don't know, and I guess we don't know about the future leadership, unless, of course, the current leadership is certain who the future leadership is, in which case I don't trust the current leadership. I wish we could seriously put in some safeguards.
Thank you. This is how history has changed over time. Now that I have your attention, we will see what these items 201, 202 until 210 mean. So you have followed that until now, annual council was comprised of only some specific members, but now spring meeting is also a full meeting. Because annual council was the only time we had a full committee, there were some items that could be handled only at annual council. But now that spring meeting is also a full committee, and that the work of the Lord needs to continue, and that we cannot lag behind in this era of instant messaging, why would we wait for a whole year to take some decisions? So it was decided that at spring meeting, we will invite everyone online and division presidents will come on site. Therefore, these items that were handled only at annual council can also be handled at spring meeting. Bearing in mind that if we have matters of substantial nature, of course, it will be handled when all of us are here. Are we together? This is what now we have done to ensure that the document reflects this decision. Sister Sherry, I will need my screen. Please, my sister, give me my screen, please. This is how the document appears currently in the working policy. You see, we have a chapter, annual councils, and then you have B810, spring meeting, because there were two distinct meetings, you know. You can see what the purpose of one, what is done, authorized major meetings, effective date of actions. That's how it is currently in the GC working policy book. Now, because of the decision we have taken, we have amended this section for it to read and be seen as follows. That's what you have in your document. We need now the screen of Sister Sherry. Thank you. 201. This is now, you see, we don't have a chapter, one section for annual council, one section for spring meeting. We have now BA05 that reads, GC Executive Committee meetings, period. And then underneath you will have BA0505, annual council, what the purpose is. BA057, spring meeting, what the purpose is. And then BA0510 and 0515, they have been slightly amended to reflect what we have done. So, esteemed members of the GC Executive Committee, items 201, 202, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 10 have the same explanation. Because now we are adjusting, we need to change the wording. From annual council, we are adding also spring meeting. Let me give you an example. 203. Let's go to 203. Item 203. This one we will delete it because it is no longer there. Let's go to the next one, 203. Okay, let's scroll down. Okay, thank you. So you can see line 28, preferably the election shall be scheduled for the next spring meeting or annual council. We had annual council over there before. Now we are adding spring meeting, and we are adding spring meeting also here. And on line 38, we are doing the same thing. So, Mr. Chairman, this is the explanation, the overarching explanation for all these items. Do you want me to go through each one of them one by one? If that is your pleasure, I can do that. If you think that this explanation suffices for what we are doing, I will follow what you have for us. However, I need to take you to the Constitution and bylaws. So let's go to item 501, and then we will be guided by you on what you want us to do. Let's go to the Constitution and bylaws, because you see, members, the policy book is this black book, but the Constitution and bylaws is our governing document. Whatever we will vote in the policy ends here. But for the Constitution and bylaws, this will have to go to session. So the decision that we took to have spring meeting, a full meeting, where items that were handled at AC, annual council, now can be handled at SM spring meeting, the ripple effect is that this will also appear in our Constitution and bylaws. So we want to give you the 3 instances where this will impact our governing document, our Constitution and bylaws. Look at this. You have an example here. The boundaries of these divisions, if they are realigned, shall be subject to adjustment at a spring meeting or annual council. You see what we did on Sunday when we realigned the NSD? You remember? We realigned the territory. This type of alignment we could only do at annual council because that was the full committee. Now, we are asking for permission, and this will be brought to the session, to do it at a spring meeting as well. So that the decision affects the policy and affects the governing document, which is our Constitution and bylaws. But let me say again, if there are matters of substance that need to be discussed when we are here together at an annual council gathered in this fashion, it will happen that way. Mr. Chairman, I have given you and the House an introduction to all these policies amendments that we are bringing. Do you want me to move all these items now, Mr. Chair?
Please do it.
I have moved items 201 to 210, as well as items 501 and to 503, which are Constitution related. I have moved these, Pastor Chair.
If moved, is there second? Is seconded. Then we have time to comments or questions. Please, Brother Norbert. Mic number 2. Mic number 2.
Thank you very much, Brother Chairman. Okay, 3 is good. Thank you, Brother Chairman. You know, in time of the pandemic, we realized that a Zoom meeting is not the same as a face-to-face meeting.
Correct.
And we in our division realized that some important, as you may say, substantial issues is good to discuss, if ever possible, face-to-face. And I think we had in this body also some discussions. I remember the discussion on compliance, where it was good that we wrestled with this, and we wrestled with this face-to-face, because I think this preserves the unity of the church, the transparency of the church, that all people, all members of the executive committee have the possibility to participate in the discussion on site. And I think this is very important. I understand the rationale that we have now we don't have to wait for, as you said, for 1 year till the next annual council starts, that we can do some, I would say, regular or ordinary matters to deal with that. That is fine. And I understand that you say substantial matters would be discussed on site, but who defines what is substantial? Who defines that? And that is for me then the question where it becomes, there may be some territories that say this is a substantial matter, we need to be here, and others say this is not necessarily a substantial matter. So I think we would have to define that, and when I look at the Constitution and bylaws agenda, it is in the Constitution that for territorial realignment, that the officers of the respective entity should be present. Okay, we can say, and therefore I think the fathers of the Constitution said, it is good to have them, I would now interpret that, on site. Of course, we can define presence as being present via Zoom. But as I believe that it is important that some substantial matters, we have the possibility, and we define that it is there in the policy also, that this will be discussed face to face, and is not subject to a decision where they would not have influence whether this is substantial or not substantial. So that would be my plea.
Thank you, Brother Norbert. Do you have an answer, please?
We have heard Brother Norbert, and I can tell you publicly, having worked with the 3 officers currently who are serving, I know, Brother Norbert, that there will be close consultation with divisions. I know there will be close consultation with divisions to determine this item. We have heard you. I have heard you. We will ensure that indeed this is implemented. We have heard. Thank you, brother.
Thank you. Now, Pastor Daniel Duda in mic number 3.
Mr. Chair, with the globalization of the church, we had to adjust our terminology. So we don't have Far Eastern Division anymore, because it used to be far from London or Washington, but it's not far from where people live.
I don't know, but I'm not hearing him very well. Carry on, please.
Please.
We have changed the autumn council to annual council, but we still kept the spring meeting. Now it's spring in the northern hemisphere, but not in the southern hemisphere. So if a better terminology could be found so that it reflects the global reality, it would be very much in place. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. You know, spring meetings are well known worldwide, you know. And Israel, there are some times where some places where there is spring meeting and others where there is winter, but I don't know if you have any to say about that.
I see the president is coming to a microphone. By the time he scans, maybe we would have answered the question.
Please, Pastor Wilson.
Pastor Ted knows he assigned me that responsibility with my boss, Elder Urton, and we had worked on it, Pastor Ted, but ultimately, you know, we had other challenges. But since the president is here, let him speak. Thank you.
Please.
Believe me, we have discussed this. So it's not as though we are ignorant of the fact that in one part of the world, it's actually going into spring right now, when it is autumn here. The annual council was changed from being fall council or autumn council to annual council. We suggested or discussed whether or not to have spring meeting of the General Conference Executive Committee called mid-year committee meeting, which is what most divisions have for their terminology for the meeting that takes place in May or June. However, in looking at all of the aspects of even the way we categorize materials and the historical aspects that have to be carefully managed within Secretariat and archives, it appeared that changing this particular name would cause more challenge than it was worth. So we have simply maintained that we will keep it spring meeting. In order to make Pastor Duda and others feel a little more comfortable, when they come to the spring meeting, it will be held in Silver Spring, and it will be spring.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for the answer. Okay. Yes. If Dr. Decker, please. Decker. Okay, thank you. It's ready. Thank you. Mic number 2, please.
Yes, thank you. On the matter of substantial and who defines that, I think it should be this body who defines what is substantial. And therefore, I wonder if it's possible to insert that maybe if 10% of the delegates, for example, wish that it would be deferred to annual council, that should be then done in order to ensure that it's this body that defines what is substantial.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see the President, Mr.
Pastor Wilson, please.
Two speakers have spoken about this, and I think we need a response. Hensley mentioned specifically that in working with the officers, that they certainly are aware of what is to be considered as substantial. I think that you're simply going to have to trust your officers. You're going to have to trust administration to work with division administrations. You will absolutely know that nothing of substance, huge substance, and it is certainly a subjective term, substance. Nothing of large substance is going to be brought to kind of sneak it past a group. However, let us understand what spring meeting is all about now. We are actually asking you to make spring meeting just as any executive committee would be, so that spring meeting can take care of more major items, such as territorial readjustments, etc. If there is the need to call a group together, then that will be accomplished by calling people on site. I want to warn this group, we should never make the distinction that a Zoom meeting is not having people present. That's why we don't use the word present. We use on site. Annual council will be on site. In fact, we are not even doing hybrid at this annual council. It is on site. Those who are in some other portion of the world and were unable to come to annual council, they can watch online streaming video, but they are not part of the actual annual council. It is on site. However, at spring meeting, those who wish to avail themselves of it, and we hope everyone will be present through Zoom. And that is, and all the division officers will be on site. We hope that this body will vote with us, and that we will not be put into a situation where we're going to have to define what is substantial. You're going to have to trust your officers and leadership. By God's grace, we will not try to slip something by people. That is not the way we do it. Let me just reference something without making it too particular. In 1998, there was a special executive committee that was called at another time than annual council. All members were invited to be on site. In 1998, we didn't even have the option of Zoom. We did have the option of telephonic connection, which at times we would use for executive committees. Zoom is even better than simply telephone. But because of the importance of that particular decision that was to be made in 1998, all members were called to be on site, and it was not an annual council. So, Brother Chair, I simply wish to stand and urge this body to trust your administration, because we work carefully with division administrations in ascertaining what is substantial.
Thank you, Pastor Ted, for your comments. I think the question has been answered. I think we are ready to move. I don't see anyone. Someone is coming to the mic, number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Niklas Rantanen. I'm a layperson from TET. I was just wondering, when your wife or husband asks you to reserve a date for a birthday dinner, and they remind you, they expect you to be present, I dare you to ask for a Zoom link. It is not the same to be present on Zoom as it to be present actually live in the room. But about the trust, to make sure that we can, that not only the current leadership but also the future leadership will honor these words that have been spoken today. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Trustfulness is key in what the church does. Trustfulness between each part of the body. We are a world church with representation in every level. This body is the responsible to work in conjunction with all those who are representing their area of the world. Because every area of the world is being represented today here. And we listen each other. It's part of our responsibility to listen to each other. What is here on the table now is something that will give opportunity to move the mission easily. That's the purpose. Our focus is mission. And we need to keep the focus of mission in our mind. I think if there is anyone to speak, we are ready to vote, trusting. We can see mic number 2. Someone is ready to speak, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We heard a concrete suggestion from my previous speaker, and that's why I would like to place a motion that we install a safeguard. We can discuss about the percentage. 10% was suggested, but I make a motion that we place a concrete safeguard where a quorum can move a decision to annual council.
Okay. Okay, what we have heard now is not really a motion. It's a comment, and we take it as a comment. But it's not a motion, legally. Yes, please. I will ask the legal advisor to explain this, please.
I think the challenge is for something to be a motion, you need to give a page, a line number, and the specific words you want to insert or delete. Saying your motion for a safeguard is an idea, and I'm not trying to comment on the substance of it, but that's just an idea. A motion includes page, line number, inserting these words after this word or deleting this word. And that's because this has to be very concrete. So that would be what would need for a motion.
Thank you. Thank you. Mike 1, Neil Needley, please.
Yes, we already have a motion on the table, and if we want to trust the process in that motion, then vote yes. If you don't, then vote no, is how I see it. And so I call a question on the motion.
Okay, it's called question, then we need to vote, and the vote will define. You know, you have the opportunity to decide in favor of or against. I think we are ready to open the vote. Your vote will decide. Please, please, you can open the.
We are opening that right now, Mr. Chairman. It's going to take just a second. We do have that motion ready, but it just takes just a second. So this, of course, is a motion to cease debate and go immediately to voting on the motion as it was pending. It is undebatable. So unless there's a point of order on this, then it's not, there's no debate.
Yes.
I would ask the chair to define what we are now voting. I think we have to vote the question on the motion, whether this question on the motion is approved or not. We are not going directly to the vote, correct?
What we are voting is what was presented for Pastor Ruben.
No,
So,
I think, no. I would humbly disagree.
The current what's up in that motion is open. Should be on your device is a motion to call the previous question, which is to cease debate. If that fails, we will continue debating. If it passes, then we will go immediately to voting on the motion that Elder Moravian made. So this is just a vote on whether to continue discussing this or to cease discussing. Does that make sense? And that is open. And let me find it here. And Mr. Chairman, I can tell you that 22 of you have successfully voted, 29, but 70 have it open. So we'll give it a little bit more.
Thank you for that explanation. Sorry, we are really voting the previous question. You know, if you vote in favor, that means that we will move to the original motion. If you vote against, that means that we will need to continue our discussion.
So, Mr. Chairman, we're making some good progress. We are up to 133 people have cast ballots, but we still have about 30 voting, so this is an important motion, as they all are, but this one affects the rights of the body, so let's give it a little bit more time.
Yes, please.
Mr. Chairman, we've got 187, but there's still a handful of people attempting to vote, so let's give it a little bit more time. It's about 13 people wanting to vote, so just a little bit more time, Mr. Chairman.
Let's give one more minute, please. Take your time, but vote against or in favor to call the previous questions. Enjoy the music and vote.
Mr. Chairman, we are up to 206 votes. If you would like, we can go ahead and close that, I think, at this time.
Let's close, please.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we are in the process of closing that. And we should have it closed here shortly. Closed, Mr. Chairman, and it'll be displayed here momentarily.
It shows that it fails. We continue debating. No?
No,
Yes, yes, yes,
remember,
yes.
everyone, this is a 2/3 vote.
Yes.
2/3 majority is required. The quick way to figure that out is take the no votes and double it. And if that's less than the people that voted, then that's less than 2/3, Mr. Chairman. So this is less than 2/3.
Thank you.
Sorry.
We need to continue the discussion. Yeah, whoever wants to speak need to scan his ID. Need to scan his ID. Do you want to say something? No. Yeah. You know. Yes. Number 2, Victor Marley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I believe my friend who tried to propose a motion was maybe unaware that what he needed to do was to propose a subsidiary motion to refer the policy back to the committee to look at this idea of creating a safeguard. So I would like to then propose a subsidiary motion that this goes back to the committee to look at the idea of safeguarding with regard to substantial issues at spring meetings. Thank you.
Okay. Is there a second for this motion? Is seconded. Now, there is a motion at the table to get this item back to the committee. It was being moved and seconded. Is there any comments or questions? Because this is a debatable motion. Yes, Pastor Wilson, please.
I can understand the sensitivity on the part of some. I regret that there is such sensitivity. Spring meeting on Zoom is fully an executive committee as if you were sitting here. Everyone can speak unless you're working on your computer or doing something else. And we all know what happens. Even here in this meeting, people are working their phones, they're looking at their computers. I do it. We all do it. But spring meeting on Zoom is exactly the same as this, except you're not face-to-face to every individual. You're face-to-face on Zoom. It's interesting to me because what we were attempting to do was to actually broaden the impact of spring meeting. And now it's being perceived as being somehow devious. I regret that greatly. And let me tell you, everyone has a voice and they have a vote. They are present at spring meeting. We have reviewed this, we have talked about it, we have gone through many aspects. I stand firmly against the motion to table or to refer.
Thank you. Mic number 3, Karen Tobias, please.
Mr. Chairman, I rise to express appreciation for us union officers to be a part of spring meeting. I mean, we have waited for many years. We just read the notes for all these years. And now that we have the chance to participate And we have come to understand that Zoom meeting is indeed a valid meeting, as the church has voted. I stand asking that we proceed with this motion to make sure that the spring meeting continues. I don't support this motion at all.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't see anyone else. Yes, mic number 1, please.
Kia ora, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I appreciate the opportunity to be part of the union of the spring meetings. I myself, from the south, from New Zealand, would love if it wasn't called spring meetings so that there is a sensitivity to the broader church. However, what I would like to refer to here is the body that we belong to here as the executive committee. And when we discuss the area of substance and what is of importance for the body to consider in their meetings, that we don't abdicate our responsibility as the executive committee and just trust our leaders to decide what that is. Now, we do trust our leaders, but we as an executive body have a responsibility to be part of the full process. And that's where I have a leaning towards some of the discussion that has come from, I think, from our European brothers, to ensure that as a body we are fully engaged in the process. And I also add to this the fact that as I have been part of this meeting over the last few years, I've seen the drift of the responsibility of the executive move more and more towards the ADCOM and the leadership. And that's fine for efficiency. However, we as an executive body have responsibility that we need to maintain and ensure that we follow that through.
Thank you, thank you. Mic number 2.
I understand the subsidiary motion not to be against the spring meeting. I think it's a great idea that we have the opportunity to participate at the spring meeting, to be there, to discuss some important business issues and to get things done for the mission. But the subsidiary motion is in favor of a safeguard, and I would like to give you an example. Every morning when I drive the car, I pray the Lord that He will guide me and no accident will happen. But still, I will put on my safeguard. That's the belt. It's not that I trust in the prayer, but still, I install the safeguard just in case anything can happen. And to place a safeguard here, a quorum, like my previous speaker proposed, we can discuss about the numbers. I think that's very responsible because, well, this committee will change, the composition will change, and it's good to have this safeguard in our bylaws.
Thank you. Pastor Dr. Neil, please.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are in our policies that administration has the right to do apart from executive committee. That's why it's very important who we select as administrators of any of our bodies, because those administrators have power to act. This is not, I don't understand why this is such a big deal. We have put confidence in our administration and leadership. This is not huge decisions here. It's just what is large enough to go to autumn council where everyone is there and spring meeting. It does seem like, and I understand why Elder Wilson is passionate about this, it does seem like that there's a lack of trust in being able to decide what is important enough to bring to autumn council or spring meeting? Do we really lack the trust and confidence in our leadership that way? I think it's kind of appalling that we're having this discussion. This is a little decision that we're asking administration to do. And if we support the administration of our worldwide church and we don't think they have the ability to make this decision, then I think we're in trouble. And so I want to just appeal to you to trust your administration to make a decision whether it's large enough to go to autumn council or a spring meeting. And there's a whole lot of efficiency. I know all of you would like to come to spring meeting. Do you really want to have the world church pay for all of that? We do have a lot going on here. And there are some things that shouldn't wait a whole year. Who's going to come up? Are your unions going to come up with all this money? Are you going to raise it from the lay people? Or what are we going to do so that all of us can be here and be part of dual, autumn councils or annual councils? And so we have to look at finances involved. We have to look at all of this. And I want to go on the record as trusting our present administration to make this rather minor decision compared to all the other major decisions we trust them with, and go with the original motion.
Thank you. Mic number 2, Annie Wakata.
Okay, thank you. I would like first to apologize. It's my first time here. I am just making an observation. For me, it seems like when we go to meeting in church, we start by praying, calling God to lead us. But when it comes to discussion, we don't trust each other. We don't trust that we are being led by the Holy Spirit. Okay. I think this discussion came from the word substantial. Okay. And it's going everywhere. For me, the issue is not so big. And this, we face now the limits of democracy. What, for example, if during a blockade, okay, some people, they need to be reassured or assured. Is it possible to put in the report that some people did not agree with this, and we can go forward? For example, I'm a bit disappointed because a blockade is coming not for a big issue. I feel like now this meeting is resembled to the General Conference of the International Atomic Energy Agency. We will spend hours because we have 2 blocks that are blocking just because maybe the people do not trust the management team. For me, it's not by power, it's not by might, it's a very naive way of thinking. But for me, in such meetings when there is a blockage, we can just maybe put in the report that there was a group that was against this, that was proposing this. And now we trust the team and we move forward. And next time, if it doesn't work, we will remind you that, okay, somewhere in the report, it was written that we didn't agree. Now we are facing the limit, and let's come back to what we discussed before. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. And then we will have the last comment with Thomas Mueller, and after that, we will vote. Remember that this, the motion is voted just for simple majority. And then we will be ready to vote if to refer this issue to the committee or to continue and vote the original motion. Please, Brother Thomas Mueller. I told he was the last one, but yes. I think there is another one. Is the last one we will accept. Gonzalo Pita, please.
Thank you. Thomas Müller from Denmark, the union president. Mr. Chairman, I stand here to distance myself from the inferences made of distrust. I haven't heard that. What I have heard is simple, sound democratic principles being suggested. So I stand here asking myself, what is the rush? Why the need to make the motion to implement it right now? Why not just delay this 12 months and then have the due process, have the committee review to see if we can incorporate what has been suggested? So I stand here in favor of the motion of referring it back to the committee.
Then, Gonzalo Pita.
Thank you, Brother Chair. I will probably give a foot answer to the gentleman previous is, what's the rush? You know, we are living in a difficult world in the sense of things move very quickly. The situation in Israel is just one thing. I am a advisor to governments on policy issues. I'm a lay person, and it's very common for governments to get together and decide things over Zoom or online meetings. Have you seen that? Very important decisions because of the sake of expediency, because many times the matter needs to be dealt with in that way, right? So what I see here is just a matter of expediency, just to express my full trust in the administration of the church. And I think that there is importance and weight in the terms used. Safeguard, safeguard, safety belt. Safeguard against whom? Do I need a safeguard against my brother Hensley? Do I need a No. If I want to propose a change, a suggestion, there are mechanisms in the working policy. I can approach the leaders and suggest things that I think are substantial, but I understand that my judgment sometimes I need to share that with my brothers and sisters in the administration. So I want to express my full confidence, and also, again, I see this as an experience. It's a great suggestion. Many countries, governments, multilateral organizations make important decisions over Zoom because they operate on the basis of trust. And I do trust not just the GC leaders, but also the division leaders, the union leaders. The ripple effects, to use Hensley's words, are large if we don't trust, and we need to have safety belts against the process. So I am against the motion to table this and just to proceed.
Then we are ready to vote. Remember, we will vote about to refer this item to the committee. If you vote against, then you are telling that we continue with the original motion. If you vote in favor, you are telling that then we will refer this item to the committee. Then you are ready to vote? I think we are ready.
Mr.
Please.
Chairman, it is opening now. So it should be opened here just in a second. It is taking a little bit longer. This is, will hopefully be here just in a second. So just remember, motion to refer. Yeah, just give it a second. Apologize. This is, for some reason, it's taking just a second.
Let's wait for the motion to be, for the body to work with us. You know, voting
It's funny, all the other motions we've had have come up fairly quickly, and then of course this one would be the problem.
Now it's coming?
Are you guys seeing it? Okay, good.
Yes.
All right.
Then pray and vote.
All right. Thank you. Sorry about the delay. So remember, this is a motion to refer. If you want this item to go back to committee and to come back later, then you vote yes. If you would like to vote on it today, then you vote no. Yes. Mr. Chairman, I see here that we have 173 ballots already cast, but 43 are still open, so we may hit the all-time high mark on this vote. So let's give it a little bit more time.
If you vote yes, you are referring the motion to the Policy Agenda Committee. Okay? If you vote no, then you are giving to continue to vote the initial motion.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, we have 227 ballots cast, but still a handful of people, so maybe another 30 seconds. Just as a reminder, and I apologize, I should have reminded you on the motion to call the previous question, that was a 2/3 vote. This is simple majority. So it's just, one more vote than half, then the item passes and is referred. Anything less than that, and the motion fails and it's not referred. So, Mr. Chairman, we are at 2:33, maybe 15 more seconds.
15 more seconds are okay.
And please don't forget to hit submit.
Remember to submit your vote. Sometimes you have chosen what to vote, but if you don't submit it, then it not appears here. Please.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we're up to 234. I would suggest that we could close it now if it's your pleasure.
Let's close, please.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we're in the process of closing this. Hopefully it doesn't take as long to close as it did to open it. Apologies for that. I think we all know how sometimes things move slower than we'd like on the internet. It is now closed, Mr. Chairman, 235 ballots cast. Results momentarily.
There's the vote. Then the initial motion continues. With debate, yeah? We have a few minutes. I think we have spoke about that. We have heard, but if there is someone who wants to say something, it's time to do it. We have a few seconds more, please.
We are speaking about democracy. Actually, when you look at the policies, current policies, if you have 40 or so members, you can take any decision, any. This is what the policy allows today. Even the most significant one. Now we have received a suggestion to include everyone, every member of the executive committee in the spring meeting. It looks like some don't like Zoom and some like it. We are living in the 21st century. Pandemic has shown us that sometimes even the sessions we would probably need to conduct through Zoom or other means. And so I would plead to think about the possibilities of Zoom in a positive way, not in a negative one. Because in the Zoom, everyone can vote, everyone can speak, and if something is doubtful or we are concerned, we can say and vote to move it to next meeting or whatever. So don't be against the Zoom. We are living in the 21st century.
Thank you. Mic number 2, Norbert Restrepo, please.
Thank you, Brother Chair. Just wanted to mention the following. The purpose of the original motion is to facilitate mission, to enable the World Church through the Executive Committee to make decisions in spring as well as in the annual council. Spring meeting and annual council are both inclusive of all executive members. As executive committee members, we do not as a whole decide what is included in the agenda, but this is done through policy and appropriately designated committees. Therefore, we should be assured that the decision has been positive and this will facilitate mission.
Thank you. Mic number three, Bradford Newton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not speaking about the substance of the motion, but a procedural question about the thresholds of votes, because, and maybe our parliamentarian can help us on this, it looks like there's interaction. We have policy and then we have the Constitution. And I was wondering about how those interplay and what our vote percentage threshold is for each of these categories. Thank you, sir.
Please. We will receive an explanation, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So it is combining two different items, but as Elder Maruvian said in his presentation, we will not be voting to actually change the Constitution, which would require two-thirds votes, only to recommend that to the session, which is simple majority. Policy was within this body's discretion to change, which is simple majority. So that is why we can combine these two items together, is because they both contain simple majority, because one is accomplishing it, the other is making a recommendation to session to change it, whereupon at session it will require a two-thirds vote, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you for the explanation. Dr. Needley, please.
Yeah, I was just going to also clarify, administration has power to do a lot of things already. They can call a special meeting of this entire body, at any time. There's a lot of things that are already granted in our policies to be able to do this. In a way, this is clarifying more precisely, in regards to what they can do. But I'm even wondering if this was, it's nice to have the clarity, but I think they kind of had the power to do these sorts of things even without us necessarily moving this direction if you interpret things on all the other powers that they might have. So I don't think this is really a substantial change, although I am definitely for the motions for clarity's sake.
Thank you. I think we are ready now to vote. We have heard comments about the motion. We are ready to vote. Please open the vote.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are in the process of opening up the motion to refer. I apologize. It's not the motion. Sorry. Main motion. I swear I got a good night's sleep last night.
Yes.
So anyway, this is the main motion, simple majority. I apologize. And now I've confused the election buddy people, so it'll take a second to get it open. I apologize.
Okay. We can have music as we wait, but it's good that we can express ourselves and let the Spirit to lead us. Let the Spirit to lead us.
Mr. Chairman, it is open. You can now vote on the main motion.
Ready? Now you can vote.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we are at 125 votes, but quite a few are still voting, so let's give it maybe another minute or two.
Yes. We want you to have enough time to vote. Exercise your vote. This is your opportunity to speak in favor or against. just 15 seconds, and then we will close the vote. We are ready.
All right, Mr. Chairman, we have had, looks like 228 voting. We are closing it now. All right, Mr. Chairman, it is closed. The results will be here momentarily.
Thank you. Then it is carried. It is carried. Now we are ready to move to our next item. And you know, now we will give space for the International Religious Liberty Association Constituency meeting. And I would to ask Brothers Karnik Domerxian and Pastor Ganundiov to chair and present the items for this meeting.
Good morning, everyone. We call together at this point the Executive Committee, which forms the constituency for the International Religious Liberty Association. Welcome to the meeting. I would invite the Secretary General of the association to come forward and present his report at this time.
Thank you so much, Karnik. This report is going to be very brief, and I entitled it Champions of Truth and Freedom. In 1901, the Seventh-day Adventist Church had established the Department of Public Affairs and Religious Liberty. And that is basically the equivalent of a Ministry of Foreign Affairs or State Department. So imagine a country without Ministry of Foreign Affairs. That would be the Seventh-day Adventist Church without the Public Affairs and Religious Liberty Department. Earlier, that was in 1901, it was started. And then in 1889, pioneers of the Seventh-day Adventist Church created an association entitled actually the National Religious Liberty Association, NARLA. And that was for the purpose of promoting religious liberty. Then in 1893, this association was expanded to the International Religious Liberty Association, IRLA, which still exists, and I'm currently the Secretary General of this association. 2023, therefore, is a significant year for IRLA. From August 21st, just past August, to August 23rd, we celebrated 130 years of advocacy for religious liberty. But why? Why do we promote religious liberty? There is a clear mandate, and I'm taking a shortcut here, to quote Ellen White. She says the following: the banner of truth and religious liberty held aloft by the founders of the Gospel Church and by God's witnesses during the centuries that have passed since then, has, in this last conflict, been committed to our hands. What is committed to our hands? What is the mission? Two things: truth, and religious liberty. Now, interestingly, and for time's sake, of course, I'm not going to read everything here. During the IRLA World Congress, the truth of our deepest and multifaceted connection to freedoms were emphasized in many ways. But maybe, I quoted Ellen White talking about truth and religious liberty, these two. If we just focus on one truth and forget the other, or the other way around, then we miss something critical regarding our mission. Interestingly, 1 Timothy 2, you would remember, God's ultimate purpose is what? To save and to bring to the knowledge of the truth. Salvation, freedom, and truth. So this is not an innovation as far as Ellen White is concerned. During the inaugural session of the Congress, our President, Elder Ted Wilson, who was the first speaker, welcomed all the participants and reminded us of the deep commitment of early Seventh-day Adventists to religious freedom and to freedom itself. This explains why our pioneers were in fact involved in helping slaves escape to freedom. Elder Wilson reminded us that. So the pioneers' involvement in the Underground Railroad, for example, was remarkable at a time of the Great Second Awakening, when several other denominations were focusing on strengthening their identities and their churches. Seventh-day Adventists focused on and became champions of freedom, and it is not by chance. And that is the vocation that is deeply rooted in who we are, a people passionate for freedom. Now, why is freedom so important? Again, let me quote here Ellen White. She says, "It is not God's purpose that any human being should yield his mind and will to the control of another, becoming a passive instrument in his hands. No one is to merge his individuality in that of another. He is not to look to any human being as the source of healing. His dependence must be in God." Now, again, no man is to think that he is the owner of the minds and capabilities of his brethren. He is not to think the others must submit to his dictation. He is liable to err, liable to make mistakes, as every man is, rather. So, and then again, we could continue. Not all the minds are alike, are constituted alike, and we may thank God rather, that this is the case. Each person is at liberty to freely state his convictions, and there is to be no lording over the children of God. Interestingly, then, I would like to just, for the time allocated to us, go directly to now, why is it that we Seventh-day Adventists focus so much on freedom? So I would like to go here, make a connection directly. We've been talking about the three angels' messages. We've been talking about the everlasting gospel, but I think it's absolutely vital that we remember, yes, we have to warn the word, but let's not forget the gospel. The gospel is always about freedom. It is interesting, the number of even dissertations I've read about the everlasting gospel, the three angels' messages, but somehow we can emphasize so much on the warning aspect that we forget about the other one, that is the everlasting good news, basically the freedom. What is the everlasting good news? In a nutshell, total freedom. The good news of total freedom. Interestingly, here too, let me say that the everlasting gospel and the three angels' messages are inseparable from freedom. Look at what, again, Ellen White, she's so clear about this. The gospel of Christ is from beginning to end the gospel of saving grace. And she insists it is a distinctive and controlling idea. Then further, more specifically, the message proclaimed by the angel flying in the midst of heaven is the everlasting gospel. What is Adventist to proclaim the everlasting gospel? What is that? The same, she says, gospel that was declared in Eden when God said to the serpent, I will put enmity. And notice, she says then, here was the first promise of a Savior. The gospel is always about the Savior. First gospel, promise of the Savior. Gospel in Luke, the coming of the Savior. Gospel in Revelation, the three angels' messages climax on the second coming of the Son of Man, the coming of the Savior. So this should not be forgotten as we share with the world. Yes, warning, a lot of things, terrible things, crisis, but the good news, especially the good news of total freedom. So then, the everlasting gospel is none other than the gospel of total freedom, freedom not only from the penalty of sin, power of sin, but freedom from the very presence of sin, total freedom. Again, I will not develop this further, but the first angel's messages is about freedom, freedom from idolatry, right? Freedom from usurping God's exclusive prerogative as creator and owner of the whole of reality. God is the center of everything. So we Adventists tell the world, freedom from all idolatry, to put God back where only God belongs. So again, maybe a simple illustration will suffice. When we tell people fear God, this is a coded language biblically. What do we mean? I mean, think about the book of Proverbs. The fear of the Lord is to know the Holy One. The fear of the Lord is to enter the path of wisdom, love life, choose trust in the Lord, to treasure God's commandment. These are biblical definitions of what it means to fear the Lord. So when I tell people, fear the Lord, I'm telling them, hate and shun all evil. Avoid the snores of death. Be humble. You see, we need to translate in a clear manner what we are telling and what is it that people are really hearing. So maybe the second angel's message, again, about freedom, freedom from the Babylonian captivity. It's always the same message. Freedom from Egypt, freedom from Babylon, Exodus. So the book of Revelation illustrates the final Exodus to total freedom. Now, think about just the language, contextually speaking, right? I mean, chapter 1 of the book of Revelation, the name of God, echoing Exodus, the one who is, who was, and who is to come. And then think about this again. Christ, well, from Jesus Christ, he delivered us freedom from our sin by his blood, language of Exodus. So the name of God, the blood. And then you come to Revelation 14, Exodus language again. What are we talking about? Think about it, right? The song of Moses. Exodus language, the song of the Lamb. Exodus language. And those standing, right, in the sea of glass, right, mixed with fire. Exodus. So the three angels' message are portrayed in a context, and we should not miss that, where God is telling his people, good news, I'm coming again. First prophecy of the book of Revelation, I'm coming. Last promise, surely I'm coming quickly. To do what? For the final Exodus. You know, we are telling the world the everlasting good news of total freedom. So again, and I could continue, this will be published on our website. But again, think about it. The experience of the redeemed, 144,000. Sea of glass mixed with fire. Song of Moses, Song of the Lamb. So we can see clearly, Adventists are champions of freedom, not by chance. That is inscribed in our DNA. So the IRLA World Congress is one of those forums where we share our passion for freedom. But notice, truth and freedom, says Ellen White. They go together. And this is why we do what we do. Not for the purpose of just, telling people stories. No. But preparing the church, led us to the 7 churches, and the world for the second coming. So this is just a little snapshot of, and elsewhere we will develop more to show that the whole book is framed in this context of good news, everlasting gospel. Yes, warning. Yes, terrible things happening. But the good news, hope is coming. And who is that hope? Well, Jesus is coming. and he is going to fix it. There will be a post-crisis, there will be post-trauma, there will be post-tribulation. Why? Because Jesus is coming to fix it. And that is why we Seventh-day Adventists are people of hope. And I pray God will not let us be distracted with so many bad things that are happening, because at the end of the day, evil has the last day. And that is exactly what the book of Revelation announces. There will be no more weeping, crying. Death will exist no more. And who is sent to say those things? Everlasting good news. Total freedom is coming. Total freedom is on its way. Karnik.
Thank you. Thank you. For 130 years now, the International Religious Liberty Association has been at the forefront of this discussion, and we appreciate very much the work of the International Religious Liberty Association. Is there a motion to receive the Secretary General's report? Thank you. It's been moved, and I'll take that as a second. All in favor of receiving the report, may I see your raised hands, please? Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. The second item that we have to deal with is the composition of the board of the International Religious Liberty Association. And Dr. Diop, would you display the recommendation coming forward for the membership of the board?
Yes, so this will be the membership of the board, and we have the names here. We will like to vote them, so I'll make a recommendation for a motion, please.
Is there a second page to that list? Is there a second page to that list?
Yes, there is a second page. May you please show the thank you so much. Thank you.
We want to make sure we get all the names for.
And these are the people who, accompany us on our journey to promote religious liberty internationally. Again, the freedom aspect, truth and freedom.
So there you have it before you, the list. Is there a motion that we nominate and elect these individuals as the board of the International Religious Liberty Association? Did I hear a motion? Thank you. It's been moved. Is there a second? All in favor of electing these individuals as the board of the International Religious Liberty Association? All in favor, please raise your hands. Thank you. Any opposed? Thank you. It is carried. With that, we come to the end, I believe, of our agenda for this meeting of the International Religious Liberty Association. Thank you very much for your participation and your votes. Yes, we're adjourned for this meeting. Brother Chair, I yield the chair back to you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Brother Karnik. And then we are ready to continue. And now we will have a beautiful time listening one of the great news, how God is moving around the world, especially in EZD. And we have now Hope for Africa. And I will ask Pastor Mark Finlay and Brother Pastor Blasius Ruguri to come to the podium and share with us those good news.
Thank you, Pastor Chair. You know I'm not Mark Finley, but he asked me to introduce.
Okay.
Good morning, everyone. We are so excited to share with you what God has been doing through evangelistic media networking. And I want to introduce our Vice President, Gideon Mutero, who oversaw Hope for Africa. Gideon, if you could come, and then Mark will be sharing. We have an amazing video for you that just arrived yesterday. What did you see there in Hope for Africa, Gideon?
Tremendous results of media evangelism. As part of our 20th anniversary, Hope Channel decided to collaborate with the East Central Africa Division to conduct this event that was broadcast over multiple media platforms, 2 satellites, several terrestrial television stations, YouTube, digital platforms, as well as social media. tremendous engagement of the various countries within East Central Africa Division, and a great harvest of souls that were brought into the church.
We were so delighted to participate with Hope Channel. Pastor Guri, come and join me, President of the East Central Africa Division. And one of the problems that we have with your division is counting the number of downlinks, baptisms, lay people involved. We have been announcing that there were 10,000 downlinks, but we just got word that there were close to 20,000 downlink sites. Now, how do you organize that? 60 choirs singing in the meetings, prayer groups from 8 o'clock in the morning till 8 o'clock in the evening, hundreds, thousands of pastors involved, tens of thousands of lay people. How, from a division perspective, do you organize that?
Pastor Mark, I have a team of union presidents here, and we also have other leaders of unions back home. This is a very highly coordinated activity. It is not something that Pastor Guri would do by himself. Sometimes after organizing them, I release them to set on fire the wheat fields of the Philistines. You remember what Samson did? So these men pass are behind all those very difficult logistics to think about. But each union worked so hard with their media centers, with their communications directors,